Hey there, welcome back. Friends, today we will discuss about Java Beans. Now, definitely the concept of Java Beans is very important when it comes to Java programming, and the concept of Java Beans help us to encapsulate multiple objects into one, and definitely using Java Beans we can access these objects using getters and setters. Now, how we will make use of Java Beans is something which we will see in our forthcoming videos, but today we will check the overview of beans. So let's get started. Now, what exactly is a bean? Bean is nothing but a class which consists of multiple properties, and these properties are nothing but independent objects. Now friends, whenever we work with beans, first of all we would require an entity class. So let us create a class first of all, and before that we need to also create an package. That would be good. So the package would be like org.steadyeasy.beans. Let us click on finish, and inside this package we would be creating a new class. And take a note of it, this is not a servlet, this is simple class. The name of the class would be, for example, user, and we will click on finish. Alright. Now friends, inside this class we can create multiple properties. We would be adding only two properties to start with, and these would be like a string entity. Name would be, for example, first name, and we would be adding a yet another property. Again, this would be a string entity, and the name would be last name. Alright, so this looks good. Now friends, whenever we would like to create an entity class, it is always good to add a default constructor. So let us add a constructor as well. So in here we will navigate to source and create a constructor using field. Let us deselect these two options, and here is our default constructor. Moreover, let us also add getters and setters, and adding getters and setters are essential. We have to add getters and setters for entity class. So in here we will generate getters and setters. Here we go. So now we have getters, setters, and the property is in place. We also have the default constructor. So whatever we need is there with us. Perfect. Now let's navigate to our web content folder, and we would be creating two JSP file. So let us highlight the web content folder. We will right click and create a new JSP file, and the name would be set property. We will create a yet another JSP file, and the name would be get property. Alright. Now friends, first of all let us code for get property. Alright. So we will give the title as get property. And now friends, the good thing is that this JSP file can communicate with your Java file, this user.java file. So we can directly communicate with the user.java file, and we can retrieve information which is there inside these property first name and last name, which is very good. And in here there is a small little mistake. We have not followed the naming convention for last name. Let me fix this small little issue real quick. So I will highlight this, right click, and refactor the name by navigating to refactor and selecting this option of rename, and we will simply rename this to last name. Let me save the changes, and everything seems to be good enough. Alright, so now let us navigate to getProperty.jsp file, and in here we would be making use of a JSP tag. And if we check the tags in here, one of the tag would be useBean. Let me show you. Here we go. Now first of all we need to give the ID. ID is the identifier of the bean, and we will give the ID as user. And then we need to also give a yet another attribute, and this is your class. Now class is again very important. We need to give the name of the class, and we need to give the complete path as well. So the path would be org.steadyeasy.beans.user. Alright, and finally let us also give the scope, and we will give the scope as session. Alright, so this looks good to me, and now finally we can read the information from our class. In order to read the information, we will again make use of a JSP tag, and the tag would be get property. Now in here there are two specific attributes which are essential. First is property, and second one is name. Now this name should be nothing but the ID of your bean. So in here the ID of the bean is user. So let me make use of this, and the property would be definitely the name of the property which is derived from your file. Now the file is user.java, and the name of the property is, for example, first name. Let me copy this name and paste it in here. And let me copy this line of code and paste this once again in here, and this time the name would be last name. Alright, so this looks good, and let us also add in a label. So in here I will type in first name colon, and then we will display the information which we receive. And likewise we will also add in a label for last name. Alright, so this looks good. Now friends, if we check the user.java, as of now we haven't initialized these first name and last name, and we will check that in a minute. Now firstly, let us try to run this getProperty.jsp file real quick. And here is the output. For first name and last name, it is pulling out null values, which is okay. Alright, so first of all, let us add in a br tag real quick in here, and then let us navigate to user.java file. And first of all, whenever we deal with property, it is always a good practice to mark them as private. So let us do that. And we will also mark last name as private. Here we go. And finally, let us also initialize these two properties using some default value. So in here, I will type in first name equals maybe John and last name as Doe. Alright, so this looks good to me. And now finally, let us navigate to our web page and let us try to refresh the page. And here is the output. So definitely the getProperty.jsp file is able to retrieve information accordingly, and we are able to see the output perfectly. Alright, so now let us navigate to setProperty.jsp file, and in here we will give the title as setProperty. Now again, in order to set the value, we will make use of JSP useBean tag, and the ID would be again user. Now let us give the value for class, and definitely we need to provide the path. Path would be org.steadyeasy.beans.user. Alright, so this looks good to me. Now finally, let us also give the value for scope, and value would be, for example, session. Alright, so this looks good to me. And now finally, let us try to set some value. Now the way is very simple. In here we will type in JSP set property tag, and the name of the property would be, for example, first property is first name, and we will use the name as user. And finally, let us also give the value. Now value is very important. We will give the custom value as maybe Chand, and let me copy this line of code real quick and paste this once again. This time the name of the property would be last name, and value would be Sheikh maybe. And finally we will give a very simple message as well, and it would be values have been set. Alright, so this looks good. Now friends, for example, we simply refresh this page and check the current values. It would be like John Doe. Now for example, we run this setProperty.jsp file. In this case, custom values would be set. Let me restart the web server. Here we go. And if we check the getProperty file, then definitely after refreshing, the values got updated. Now for example, I restart the web server once again, and I try to run the getProperty method first. Let me refresh it. Then definitely the default values would be there. But if I refresh the page where we are executing setProperty.jsp file, then the values would be updated in the background, and now the updated values are there. Now friends, we can definitely check that our setProperty and getProperty files are working properly, and we can also check the output. Now friends, we will definitely dig more into beans in this section, and we will discuss a couple of more interesting information as well. Alright, so this is it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.